Yeah, it's me, Greg, aka Crazy G with NECR New England Concert Reviews, and today we have, as always, another outstanding guest, highly talented, and I want to introduce him right now, and he is none other than Brian Vodinh, guitarist for the rock band from Knoxville, Tennessee, 10 years. Hey there, it's a pleasure, and thanks for taking the time to talk with us here at NECR. How is it going, Brian?
Hey, man, it's going great, and I really appreciate you having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime, man. I love music, and I love talking to you artists, and it's enjoyable for me as well, so...
Awesome.
Let's get right into it. 10 years has been doing this for a long time. Why don't you give us a brief description of the band for those who might be listening or hearing about you guys for the first time?
All right, well, so I started the band in high school. I was about 15 or 16 years old, out of my parents' garage. We made enough racket to finally, get some gigs in the local area, and we wrote a song called Wasteland back when I was about maybe 19 or 20 years old. I think I was about 19. And next thing you know, we get signed by Universal. We have, tours with Korn and Mudvayne and some of the biggest bands on the planet. And then Wasteland goes to #1. So that whole beginning chapter for us was a total whirlwind. Fast forward now to 35, we're about to release another new record, and somehow we've been able to continue to do this, and I guess there's enough crazy people out there who are buying our records and coming to the shows and supporting us, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. It sounds it, man, and it's so great to hear how artists have started, and you, along with many others, started the same way in high school, and that's really cool that you were able to do that and succeed at it. 10 years got back to it recently after a short break, and you guys produced your 8th album, which debuted on Mascot Records. What do you want to tell us about the arrangement with Mascot and the new CD, How to Live as Ghosts, which will be released via Mascot worldwide on October 27th?
Well, after the last record, we actually named it From Birth to Burial because we thought that was the end of the band. We weren't sure how much longer we were going to push along. And what happened was I came off the road in 2013. I needed to be done with that for a while. And the vibe with the band at the time just wasn't healthy. It was a little toxic. And so I stepped away. I threw in the towel and I was done. We made that record, From Birth to Burial. I actually produced it. And so the band took off, went on the road, and then, Mascot came around. I'm not sure the initial talks, but they reached out to our management and basically said, we want to revive the band. We want to put the band back in the spotlight. And, at that time we were in such a negative headspace that it was kind of like, I don't know about that. Some changes were going to need to be made if we are actually going to want to push forward. So we had to make changes in the lineup. We had a longtime member that it wasn't working with them anymore. So we parted ways with him. We had to let him go. And then I came back along with Matt Watlin, who was the other guitar player in the band, who was another original member with me from back in the day. He came back after being gone since '09. So now, we have 3 original players in the band and writers and everything. So we really felt revived, and Mascot has put a big push behind us. And, instead of self-producing this time, we went with Nick Raskulinix, who, for us, when we were trying to figure out a producer, it's like Alice in Chains has gone to him multiple times, Foo Fighters multiple times, Rush, all these huge icons that we look up to have gone to this guy multiple times. And the kicker is that he's also from Knoxville, Tennessee. So we thought, let's do the record with him and let's try and really get our name back on the map. And so How to Live as Ghosts, the new album, that's the title that's playing off of the name of the last record because we thought that the last chapter died with From Birth to Burial. So now we're going to push forward as Ghosts in the Past.
Nice. Killer story. I like how you did it, too. That's awesome. There's so much on As Ghosts we could discuss. It really is so damn creative and such a great CD all around. Right off with the opening track, The Messenger. What can you tell us about this song?
That I believe that was the last song that we wrote for the record. We actually had recorded nearly everything else on the record. And then Nick came to us one day and said, hey, we need one more song. And we're like, well, we don't have one more song. What are you talking about? And he was like, just go home tonight and write something that is upbeat, up-tempo, and has some drive to it, and then see what happens. So we went back. We left the studio that night, and I sat down with an acoustic guitar and wrote that music, basically. And then we actually had 2 days off, and I drove home to Knoxville from Nashville, which is about a 2.5-hour drive. And so I wrote the music that night in Knoxville, and then on the drive from Knoxville back to Nashville, came up with the vocal melodies, gave it to Jesse, and then he put in a bunch of the lyrics, and we just kind of went from there. But that song, you know, it was one of those random ones where we thought we had the record, and then Nick needed another one, and we had to just kind of come up with it really quickly. But it did spawn from an idea that I've had floating around rhythmically for probably 15 years, and just never really did anything with it. So
very cool. Yes, another sensational track, and one of my favorites is Novocaine. How did that song materialize? That really is a great song.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Well, originally, that idea, we kind of had a bass line that had the riffs that are in Novocaine. And what we were originally going to do is we were thinking about doing it more kind of like maybe indie style, like a heavier Black Keys or something, to where the bass in the rhythm section was playing those riffs. But on the guitars, we were doing something totally different. And when Nick heard it, he was like, absolutely not. That is a killer rock track. Everybody has to play these riffs. And so we tried it, and we were like, whoa, you know, that really smacks you in the face. So in Jesse, he literally came up with the vocal for that one in a couple days. It was really quick. And I think because, you know, we're lucky enough to be able to travel the world and play shows and do it, you know, we're living our childhood dream. But, you know, most of our best friends back home, they're, you know, they have, you know, 9-to-5s and things like that. And Jesse and I were talking before about how, you know, a lot of our friends that do the daily grind, they're like, you know, they make jokes about like being numb now, you know, like the routine of life has numbed you. And that's exactly what Novocaine is about. It's about how the routine of everyday life can numb you, and sometimes you have to take a risk or mix things up to feel alive again.
And that makes total sense. As I was saying, the tracks on this CD fit so perfect for the CD. Phantoms is one super dazzling track. What was it like writing that song, and was there a story behind it, if there was one?
Well, so with Phantoms, that was one of the rare songs on the album. There's only a couple, maybe 2 or 3, that I sat and worked on kind of by myself, because it used to be historically that I would write most of the music on my own and then present it to the band, and then everybody put in their 2 cents. But this time around, we made a very conscious effort to write everything in a room all together. So, you know, everyone was feeding off of one another and all that. And so we did that on most of it. But Phantoms was a song where I had been sitting at home with the acoustic guitar, and I just started strumming those chords and singing the melody that ultimately became the chorus of the song. And I recorded it with my iPhone, and it was me playing acoustic and singing, and I sent it to the guys. And at first, I don't think anybody was really into it, actually. They were kind of like, it sounds a little soft or a little, you know, melancholy. And I was like, no, gotta try it with the full band, you know, like, let's work on it. So I talked them into working on it, and now I can definitely say it's, you know, one of the top favorites for everybody in the band on the record.
It's a well thought out, very creative. It's a song that flows really well. As you mentioned, you guys took a break for various reasons. To me, it seems it has helped tremendously with As Ghosts from the sound of it. Do you think that helped with the making of this CD, if at all? And do you think a break like this works in all aspects for a band when making a CD?
Yes, because, I mean, we've been going nonstop since we got signed when I was 22. So, you know, I mean, that's album after album, year after year of constant either writing, recording, or touring. And, you know, that's an awesome life, and we are very grateful for it. But creatively, sometimes if you have a minute to step away and clear your head, then you can come back refreshed. And that's what it took for us. I mean, and then making this record, we really did feel refreshed, and I mean, it really marked a new beginning.
You think you captured As Ghosts exactly the way you or the band wanted it to be from the start?
Well, the odd thing about that is when the first meeting that we had with Nick, Nick said, I know the type of record we need to make, and that type of record is going to be a more straightforward, kick-ass rock record that shows a little bit more vulnerability in the band. And by vulnerability, I think what he meant was he wanted it to be more deliberate. He wanted less vocal layers. He wanted less production. He just wanted to get back the basics and the meat and potatoes and just make a killer rock record. And we have the tendency to overthink everything. So, and we also have the tendency to add a lot of layers, you know, like especially the last two albums that I produced for the band. I like to take a cinematic approach to the albums, and there were certain songs that had 50 or 60 vocal tracks on them, which is a lot, a ton of harmonies and a ton of like layers. He wanted to strip all of that away, and he was like, bring me good ideas, and then let's just make those good ideas great, but let's not cloud them or obscure them. Let's stick with meat and potatoes, and that's what we did.
Like I said, it's a very well-rounded CD. But you guys are back together, and the band has done a few shows already. You have an upcoming headlining tour with Red. Then 10 Years will run as direct support for a Chevelle tour leg, which commences in Nashville at the Marathon Music Works on November 28th. First, how excited are you to be touring again, and what do you want to tell us about this tour schedule?
Oh, man, I mean, it's one thing to create music in a studio. It's sterile, and you're there in your own little world. But when you can take this material out in front of people and see them sing along and receive the songs and give energy back to you and all that, that's absolutely unexplainable, that feeling. So touring is really an emotional thing, man, because, you sit around and you wait all day long just to get up on that stage, and then the second you're up there, it's a total whirlwind. Then it's over, and then you have that, hangover from the show where, you're worn out, but you want more. But, the tour schedule coming up is really, it's awesome because I think that's going to be a killer tour with Red and otherwise. We've toured with Chevelle before, and we love those guys. They're awesome dudes, and I think the music fits well together. We kind of have similar vibes musically, so I think that's cool, and, we're looking forward to it. Now that we're on Mascot, they're a European-based label, so I think next year we're going to be hitting international markets really hard and all that. And then, of course, I'm sure we're going to be back up in the New England area soon, so we'll be seeing everyone up there before we know it.
Well, I can't wait because I definitely want to check you guys out live. From everything we've discussed, is there anything else you want to share with us and or anything coming up we might not know about for 10 years?
The biggest thing that I want to leave you with is just our appreciation for the people who have supported the band over the years. And that's as sincere and genuine as I can possibly be, because we wouldn't be here without the support of the people that have picked up the albums over the years and come to the shows and called radio stations to request the band and all that. It's weird because we've always done this because we love it, but when you do it professionally, then all of a sudden there's this crazy business side to this world. And the business side kind of sucks. It's tough when you're a truly creative artist and you do art for the sake of art, not for the sake of business. And we feel grateful that we've been able to maintain our art, and people have supported us enough to also support the business side. So that keeps us going, keeps gas in the tank, and for that we're very grateful.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brian Vodinh, guitarist, amazing, sensational guitarist for the rock band from Knoxville, Tennessee, 10 years. I want to thank you right now. NECR thanks you. I wish you the best with 10 years. I wish you the best with As Ghosts. Listen, you guys nailed it with this CD. I don't think you need any wishing or luck because you really did an outstanding job with this. Keep up the good work and all the best, man.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much.
All right, man. Well, hopefully we'll talk soon.
All right, that sounds good, buddy. Take care.
All right, you too, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Brian Vodinh, guitarist for the rock band from Knoxville, Tennessee, 10 years. Check them out. They got a new album, new CD coming out on October 27th worldwide via Mascot Records, and it is How to Live as Ghosts. Great sound, great band. Check them out online as well, Facebook. That's another one in the books for me, people. This is Greg, a.k.a. Crazy G for NECR New England Concert Reviews. We'll catch you next time. Peace. Later.